Welcome to the Intensive Care Society State of the Art Meeting 2018 in the heart of London. And we are joined today by Dr. Ferrante. Lauren Ferrante is a critical care physician who works at Yale, and she has done a lot of work around age and intensive care. So Lauren, tell us a little bit more about your work on age and intensive care.
Sure, thank you for having me. So I'm a pulmonary and critical care physician, and so clinically that means I'm attending in the medical intensive care unit for adult patients who come in with critical medical illness. And from a research perspective, my work focuses on how we can have our older ICU survivors function better when they get home after an ICU admission. So we know from a large body of literature that the post-ICU syndrome, which can affect physical function, cognitive function, mental health, is a big problem. My work focuses on physical function with a specific focus on disability, meaning whether or not that person can complete activities of daily living, such as getting themselves dressed or bathed, instrumental activities of daily living. So those are more advanced activities like taking medications and mobility activity. So we all know what mobility is, but the activities we're interested in are things like climbing a flight of stairs or walking a short distance like a quarter mile, because people really need that to function in their daily life.
Good. And do you find any barriers when you try and explore this sort of stuff with families, but equally with healthcare professionals? So do you still find there are barriers and biases?
Yeah, so the biggest barrier we still run into, I think, across ICUs, across the world actually, is that of ageism. So many people are still locked into the idea that age as a number is what we need to be the most concerned about. But we know from our work and the work of others that that's not really the case. So risk for poor outcomes is not conferred by chronological age. It's actually conferred by other things that make the patient vulnerable to poor outcomes. So things such as frailty or cognitive impairment or pre-existing disability. Those are the things that will confer risk to poor outcomes. And the reason we tend to associate those with age is simply because those conditions occur with a higher prevalence as one gets older.
Of course. And what do you do that's different to what most other places do to help people have an improved functional outcome, not just a mortality outcome, especially with the older people?
Yeah, so we've really tended to focus on disability and function as our primary outcome in all of our studies. The other outcome we were always interested in is whether or not the person is newly admitted to a nursing home. And the reason that we're most interested in those two outcomes is because those are most reflective of maintaining independence. And we know from the work of some of our colleagues at Yale that when older adults are asked to prioritize their health outcomes, that more than 3/4 of them prioritize maintaining independence as their number one health outcome priority over staying alive, which was a distant second. And so we really try to reflect that in our work by having our primary outcome, be disability, and the second new nursing home admission. Though we always include mortality because we're all critical care physicians and we still want to know about death. So.
Yes. Which brings us to my next question. Do you think we need to take out mortality as an endpoint for clinical care trials, especially trials looking at physical function and quality of life?
So actually, I don't think we should. And the reason, I think it's an important secondary outcome. I don't think it should be the primary focus for studies that are focused on things like function and independence and quality of life. However, it's important to still measure mortality for a number of reasons. First of all, even though it's a distant second to maintaining independence, people still care about death. And secondly, when you're conducting repeated assessments of an outcome such as function in an older population, especially one that's as sick as those who have been in the ICU, you always want to make sure that you're testing your results and making sure that they hold up against the competing risk of death. So death is always going to be a competing risk in these studies, in longitudinal studies of geriatric patients. And so you still have to measure death, and then we always do sensitivity analyses to make sure our results are robust to the competing risk of death. We actually just published a methods paper on this that came out on Saturday in JAGS, if anybody wants to read it.
Fantastic, and we'll make sure we tweet a link to that one. So, how do you think that patients, we find some people, some physicians as well as patients, stress a lot on physical outcomes, but do you think that a lot of people don't really think about the cognitive outcomes? Because that is another important area, isn't it?
It's very important, and actually one of the studies I'll be talking about tomorrow demonstrates how cognitive function will actually interact with frailty to affect disability outcomes. So the brain is not separate from the body, and they actually interact in affecting someone's follow-up outcomes after the ICU. So it's something that's definitely important to assess. And although there are often different measures used in studies of outpatients in the ICU, there are still some measures we can use, such as the IQ code, which you can administer to patients and proxies. But it's a very important outcome, as are the mental health outcomes.
And yesterday we heard you talk about how people, if they are at a certain baseline before they come into ITU in terms of physical function, obviously you cannot improve them beyond that baseline. Now, how do you get that message across to your patients, to the families, and to the general public?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to clarify what I mean by baseline. So I'm not talking about what their disability status was in the few days or even the week or two leading up to the ICU admission, because very often patients are already sick. And we know from many studies published in geriatrics that disability can vary as someone is sick, and then the person can recover after a minor insult or even a major insult. But what you really want to get a sense of is how dependent is the person in these various activities, ADLs, IADLs, and mobility in the months leading up to the ICU admission, and to really get an idea of, do they have, for example, severe disability that's been fixed for a long time? Because if that's where they're starting out and that hasn't changed in months, it's unlikely, it's definitely not going to be any better than that after an ICU admission. And so usually families actually understand the concept of disability as long as we don't use that word exactly. So if I say to someone, okay, so now we've talked and I understand that your loved one can't feed themselves or bathe themselves or dress themselves or toilet themselves, we actually expect that situation is going to be worse after an ICU stay, and that the best we can hope for is for them to return to that particular state, knowing what you know about your loved one, would they want to go through everything that they're going through now, knowing that baseline is the best they can return to. And some people may say yes, some people say no. It's important to have that conversation and for us to not presume what someone might want, because actually many older adults, we know that they can adapt to disability.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So you've just been listening to Lauren Ferrante, Assistant Professor, Yale Law School. I apologize.
No, maybe in a few years.
And keep watching. We will bring you interviews and chats with a lot of world-famous presenters. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't even know where the Yale Law School came from.